Steve, go ahead.
Billy, you just started talking about it, but just on a personal note, given the history that you have with Robinson, just how difficult for the last 24 hours for you?
Yeah, it was pretty difficult. You know, I'm not trying to process every player conversation I've ever had, you know, of that kind of magnitude, but with, you know, with my history with Robbie, and sharing a lot of experiences with him, you know, professionally, I'd say it was one of the more difficult ones.
At the end of the day, what did it come down to? What did the decision come down to?
I think, you know, given the construction of our roster, and this is, you know, this is a testament to, you know, how this roster has been shaped and developed over the years, with a lot of players, you know, coming through the system internally or acquired in, you know, in deals in the past. You know, given the construction of the roster and how the playing time was going to be allocated, it put us in a position where, you know, we had to make some difficult decisions, and you know, ultimately we, you know, came to the point where it was Robbie, because we weren't going to have the plate appearances as we want to allocate them around and kind of utilize the whole bench. It was going to be a little irregular.
When you make a decision like this, do you do anything regarding money? Do you think about that as you're making the move, or is it just based on how to improve this ball club?
You know, I mean, I walked through the transactions, you know, with Sandy and then ultimately with Steve, and as we were kind of talking through the weekend and then yesterday, you know, a little bit before the game time, I, you know, wanted to make sure, you know, everybody was understanding of, you know, what the impact was, and then, you know, I passed along to him what the recommendations of the baseball group, you know, on-field staff, front office staff, and I walked through, you know, in some detail with him, and he said, you know, make the baseball decision.
Billy, did Steve give you any indication as far back as spring training, knowing that this eventuality might occur, that whether it's specific to Canó or any other similar move, that if you think there's a move in the best interest of improving the club, you got the money for it, don't worry about, in this case, a sunk cost?
Yeah, I mean, Steve's very committed to winning, and you know, when I talk to Steve or when I talk to Alex Cohen, it's, you know, let's do what's best for the team and for the roster, and you know, present them with, you know, facts and you know, options, and so, you know, in a way, it makes the job, you know, pretty pretty fulfilling to be able to just run everything, you know, in their direction that we can do. But you know, he wants to know, like, or they want to know what's the best for the club, and so you know, given the information we have, we make recommendations and get their blessing.
At what point during the last few days that you guys are mulling this decision, did Steve get involved, or did you bring it to his level?
You know, I'd say the initial conversation started, you know, earlier in the week, but it wasn't specific to any players at that moment in time. It was just, what's the deadline? How does this work? You know, and we go from there. And it got a little bit more specific, you know, towards the middle of the weekend.
You know, Canó made it pretty clear that he wanted to help the team by any cost, and obviously he wasn't able to do that. Just what was his reaction when you told him what the news last night?
Robbie's got a really good smile, and he knows our history. It was, yeah, it was just Robbie. It was just all I've known about Robbie. He was a pro.
So just to clarify, the decision was finalized at the end of the weekend?
No, the decision was finalized last night after the game.
Billy, is it your understanding he definitely wants to keep playing, hook on somewhere?
That's my understanding, yeah. And I told him I'll do whatever I can to kind of help that in any way, shape, or form that we can. You know, I can talk to other clubs, and I know his representation. I know Brody can talk to teams too, you know, see if there's a landing spot for him. If there's not, you know, then I will welcome him back here in a different capacity too. If he wants that, that's up to him. But I don't think he's going to have a problem finding a job, in my opinion.
Do you remember at what point during your mutual Yankees tenures you first met Robbie? Did you scout him before he signed?
No, I didn't scout him before he signed. He was a minor league player when he was in the minor leagues when I got to the Yankees, and so I knew him there, and we date back to the complex in Tampa, and then I remember his call up and then just watching him go through the rookie season and then everything, and then sharing a some pretty good moment in 2009 with him. So yeah.
Billy, what kind of capacity could you see him helping here if he decides that either he can't get another playing job or he decides to hang him up? Where could he be?
I couldn't think through that right now. I don't know, but yeah, I think where his mind is he's going to go play in the big leagues, and I think he's going to.
Know how well liked he is in that clubhouse. How you kind of handle that with the guy next to you.
I mean, it's difficult. Like I mean, everybody's going to process it. I think the unique thing here is we're so conditioned to roster reductions March 25th, 28th, at the end of spring, and we're conditioned for that. We're not conditioned for it 23 games into a season. That's unique, and I've never been part of that. I know they talked about it in the year of 2020, but then as COVID kind of kept raging and kept doing what it was doing, they didn't reduce the rosters. They just left us with expanded rosters, and so this was really unique. And I think across baseball, teams are having to do a reduction in 23 games in or 22 games in, wherever people are in their schedules. It's unique, and so I think it forces you to process it a little bit differently because you're doing it in the heat of the season.
Has there been any discussion among other general managers that this isn't such a bad idea? Break camp with 28 and cut down by a month in, give yourself a chance to see a little more of what you're doing.
I remember this being brought up by managers in the past that I've had some conversations with, and just maybe sharing a conversation over a dinner, passing, and everybody exchanges different thoughts, and maybe the roster should be expanded in April as opposed to September. I've heard all of these things.
Can you see it becoming a thing?
Well, right now I know how it feels, and it doesn't feel that great. So, I don't know. I'd have to, probably take some time, and that's for the powers that be to decide those things. That's not, they might ask an opinion on that, but there's a lot of really smart people on Park Avenue there that try to think through how this works and the mechanics of these things work. But yeah, it's been unique for me.
Billy, for Steve to tell you essentially he doesn't care about the financial component, he wants you to make the baseball decision. What does that mean to you or signal to you as a GM, not just for this move, but kind of going forward?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a pretty intriguing aspect of the job. Is it just that you just take options and put options in front of him, and he wants to hear it, and he wants to hear the thought process and analysis behind it, and so yeah, I think it's a great aspect of the job.
Billy, there are obviously a lot of things that went into the decision. Does the fact that you have a more veteran clubhouse, did that play into this decision at all, that you have other veterans in there who have loud voices?
No, I mean, good question, but actually it didn't. It was really like based on our evaluation and the construction of the roster and how we wanted to allocate the plate appearances that we could yield moving forward.
Just given your personal connection to Canó, you knew him when he was in the minor leagues. Was this one of the toughest calls you had to make as GM since you've been a GM?
Yeah, one of them for sure. I mean, I'd have to really sit down and think through all of the years, but yeah, this one was tough.
Was it made more delicate and difficult given Robbie's resume?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a tremendous baseball player. He's got a big heart, and he's a good person, and I'm sure he's somebody that 5 years, 10 years from now, I'm going to run into him on the island or run into him in Florida or New York or somewhere, and we'll continue to share those, sharing some good memories together. But last night wasn't one of them.
Billy, would you share the
Still
details?
last question, Mike. Go ahead.
Was it just you and him when
Buck was in the room too.
You and Buck and here after the game, or?
Yeah, we just did it and brought him into Buck's office, and I just did a lot of the talking, and Buck helped me. when he needed to fill in some gaps, or he could, yeah, when Buck had good timing.
Post game last night.
Mm.